Hey everybody, welcome. So for this video, I want to talk about the minimum 50% gradebook. If you're a teacher and you've been thinking about or been told that you have to try this out, I just kind of want to let you know like what its effects were in your gradebook, my thoughts, if I will use it again, because I don't have to use it, among other things as well. If you have questions about how things worked out, obviously make sure to put them in the comments. If you came over here from TikTok, maybe put that in the comments. I'm just curious. Okay, so why did I decide to use this? And there's a good argument as to why we should have a minimum 50 gradebook. I'm not going to get into that really, but I'm going to tell you why I decided to use it. So I'll have students every year who, for various reasons, fail a class. And, you know, if you've ever gotten to like towards the end of the semester or maybe even halfway through, and a kid will look at their grade in the class and they'll say that they have like a 10%. A 10% to a 60%, that's a huge jump, right? Like it's just, they'll see that and it's demoralizing. It's not your fault or my fault as a teacher, but for them, it can be like, oh my God, this is impossible. So my thought was maybe if those kids see that they have a 51% and they're like, oh, I just got to get it from a 51 to a 60 to at least pass the class, then maybe they'll be more motivated to get their work done. That was really my main motivator for using the minimum 50. So if you're wondering, teacher, here, well, how'd that affect your gradebook? It's averages aren't really that big of a deal. Like it doesn't mean necessarily that much, but it's always a question we ask each other. So this is how it affected it. We're going to look at 4 Spanish classes. 3 of them were Spanish 1, and 1 of them was a Spanish 2 class this semester. So on the left column, you'll see that I had a Spanish 1 class and what their grades were along with the class average with the minimum 50 gradebook in place. And then to the right of it is that same class. If I take away the minimum 50, just have a standard 0 to 100 gradebook and what it would look like. You can see that the amount of A's drop, the amount of B's go up because some of those A's went down to a B, obviously. And there's some other changes. And you'll note the big change of class average dropping by almost a full 10% of full letter grade. This, by the way, was probably my strongest Spanish 1 class out of the 3. Here's my second class. Again, same thing. You can see there are a few less A's. More D's, 1 more F. You can see things dropping, 10% again, overall average drop. Here's my third Spanish 1 class. This is a class that really struggled. There were essentially about a third of the class who never did anything ever. They just refused to work. So this was a very, very difficult class to work with. But you can see that their grades just tank without it, 16% different without the minimum 50%. And then I have a Spanish 2 class, which is right here. And you can see that the biggest change is that those C's drop down to D's and F's. That's like the biggest thing. This comparison here is you can see what my grades were like this semester versus last semester if I take away the minimum 50 completely. So last semester is on the right. No minimum 50, just your standard 0 to 100 grade book. Those are my class averages. So you can see I got basically C average students across the board. If I look on the left-hand side, this is the grade book all semester. I had minimum 50, and then at the very end, if I take it away, which I didn't for the students, but if I did, these are what their grades would be. Significantly lower, especially in some cases, right? Yeah. I have some gradebook screenshots for you, and what you're going to see is, of course, no student names or anything identifying data like that. But what I want you to look at is the red. Red boxes signify assignments that weren't completed or weren't turned in. Pretty much just they weren't turned in. So this is my good Spanish 1 class this semester with the minimum 50. Okay, this is like the last 4 or 5 weeks or so of school. Again, red is didn't do it. This is another Spanish 1 class, my second best one. Red just didn't do it. My third one, the one that has like a third of the students who refused to work, didn't do it. And this is my Spanish 2 class. So the next 3 pictures are going to be about the same time period in the semester, but for last semester's Spanish 1 classes, there were 2 of those, and then 1 Spanish 2 class. I think it's kind of obvious that there's less red, significantly less red. This is a Spanish 1 class, and then this is the Spanish 2. So let's look at just the Spanish 2. So here's the Spanish 2, and here's the current semester Spanish 2. To me, it stands out. If I were to like zoom out, you would see it. Like it's significantly less red. So what I'm trying to show you is that when the minimum 50 is in place, students are going to be less motivated to get their work turned in because their grade isn't as negatively impacted when they don't have the assignment turned in, right? Because it's counting, they're getting 50%. It's kind of in the background. It doesn't say it in the grade book, but they have it. They have the 50%. And if you don't have that set up, and it basically counts as a 0 when it's not turned in, and that heavily impacts their grade. And they'll be more motivated to turn it in because they'll say, oh my gosh, I have this bad of a grade. I got to get this stuff turned in. The other thing that I noticed when I was going over this, specifically with, I want to look at this right here. So this is my Spanish 2 class this semester. You'll notice that there are 9 kids that have an A and the minimum 50. And then if I take it away, those A students, I lose 2 of them. And they drop to B's, and then some of the B's drop to C's, and you'll see that a bunch of the C's just tank, right? They go to D and F. A lot of these kids, I know, like, without a doubt, they're really smart. They're really good students. But, maybe they're happy with their 92% in the class. Or they're like, I'm okay with a 78% in the class. And they want to finish with that. If I didn't have the minimum 50 set up, those kids would have had those grades on the right on this column, that they would have had the B or they would have had the D's. And you know what they would have done? They would have gone back and they would have done that much more of that missing work. They would have had more learning. They would have understood the material better. They'll be better prepared for Spanish 3. That was kind of like the big standout to me, is that the higher achieving kids do less on the minimum 50. Then the second thing is that if you remember earlier, I said that one of my biggest reasons for doing this was I want those kids that are, lower grades. Maybe they have a 51%, but they're only 9% away from a D in the class. I want for them to see that they can do the work and get their grade up. Those kids still didn't do the work. Like, that was my main reason for doing it, is so that the kids that are failing see that they're closer and that they can move up to a D. They still didn't do the work. So my biggest reason for doing the minimum 50, gone. And then it also demotivates kids from doing missing assignments if they have, maybe they have a 91% in the class, but, they're going to get the A. They got 6 missing assignments, but they're still going to get the A. So, I'm not going to do them. It's a disservice to them as well, because they're going to be less prepared for the next level. Perhaps it's something I could change, the amount, how I get my assignments, the number of assignments I give, or if there's something maybe I could change in my grade book. If that could be my fault. I don't know. This is still new to me. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. So I don't have to do the minimum 50, and I don't think I'll do it again because I didn't see any benefit to it. I don't think the students saw any benefit to it. So I don't think I'll do it again. Unless you're a teacher and you can see if there's an error in my methods, please point it out to me, because maybe I just did something wrong, and then I could do it again and do it right the next time. Hopefully this helped you. If you have questions, comments, whatever, let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, see you next time. Take this. Adios.